That's enough of our tune. There we go. Turn that off. Good morning, everybody. Here we are again, Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. Set your alarm by it. And today we have Todd. There's Todd there, and Psycho here.
Hello.
Hey, Todd. Hey, Psycho. Yeah, Psycho's on the... No, he's not on the beach. He's in his room faking it. Just like I'm on the beach faking it. And Todd hasn't got...
I'm closer than you, though.
Yeah, you're closer than me. He's always bragging. And of course, Todd hasn't worked out how to actually get the actual software working on his computer yet because he's got an Apple. But yeah, let's not go there. Todd's my mate. Todd's my mate. Todd's my mate. He's just because he's got an Apple doesn't mean he can't be my mate. Andy Stubbs, g'day. Stuart from Newey. Jenny from where's Jenny from? She's from UK. G'day, Jenny. And we had Ninjas before. Ninjas Adventures 18. He popped in about 1:45. And Thailand Digital Nomad. Thailand Digital Nomad. I recognise the name from somewhere. You're saying a lot of Mark Van Dorn, but I don't see Mark on the chat there. It's a bit weird. Maybe he was on another channel. But yeah, Malcolm K, g'day. Excuse me. And Shane, how you doing, Shane? Robert Groves. Oh, good. Well, we've got the usual gang. How is everybody's Saturday morning? Oh. Starting with Todd, how was your Saturday morning? I know it's now afternoon for you, of course.
Yeah, normal Sunday morning. Got to do the chores, got to do the clean-up, got to do everything else. Check the emails, standard stuff. Still counting the days. Yeah, normal stuff, normal Saturday.
Yep.
Looking forward to having a chat and talking about what's happening in the world.
Yeah, I'm going to try to avoid talking about anything to do with the pandemic today. We're not mentioning the pandemic because, God, we just want to get out. We're all going stir crazy. What's the Stockholm syndrome and what's the other thing we call it? Cabin fever. Cabin fever. All other stuff at cabin fever. Yes. Just watching our new gardener for the first day on the job saves me cutting the grass. Well, that's the way Mayor Groves. I wouldn't expect you to be cutting the grass anyway. Like, you're the Mayor Groves. You know, you pay someone to do those menial tasks. Come on. I tried to get my wife to do it, but she doesn't quite get how grass cutting works. But anyway, gotta love Thailand. What about tipping? Oh, we want to talk about the video I put up this week. Oh my God! There's one person that seems to have a real issue with it. That person, I'm not going to mention names. You can find it in the comment section. I believe they're from the Philippines, and this is the thing that always gets me with people like that. If you're going to try to have an engagement, an intelligent conversation, how about you use English, right? Not tag along, you know, because I don't do tag along, and of course he or she has tried to do English, but really doesn't know how to put two nouns and verbs together, in a constructual form, if you know what I mean. And you try to have an intelligent conversation with a person. No, sorry. But yeah, tipping, it's an interesting subject. And let's take it over to Psycho there, because he comes from the land of tipping. What's your opinion?
I have gotten so tired. Like, I remember when I was younger, it was like, okay, 10% or 15% was standard tip for things, and then like in the last few years I've seen where you go to order and it's like an iPad or something kiosk, so you actually go up there to order and get your food and stuff, and then they want up to a 35% tip is what I've seen it like on the little iPad. It's like, oh, you could tip 25, 30, or 35%. And it's like, what are you doing for me? Like, I'm already up here. Like, this is getting ridiculous. So yeah, that's the way I see it. And I've had arguments with my friends over this, about tipped versus non-tipped minimum wage, and you can look at it per state. Yeah, pertains mostly to the U.S., but like as wages increase, a lot of it with a lot of states, the percentage between the non-tipped and the tipped minimum wage decreases. Like, so a bunch of my friends live in Colorado, and it's a $3 difference between tipped and non-tipped, and it remains a $3 difference, which means the higher the wages go, the less percentage it is difference between tipped and non-tipped. So if it's like the minimum wage is $7 and the non-tipped is $4, like that's a pretty good percentage wage. But once you get to the non-tipped is $15 and the tipped is $12, it's way less of a percentage. So why am I paying a higher percentage when their percentage of income to the normal income has gone up? That's the way I feel it. In Thailand, I probably tip too much. God, that sounds dickish of me to say that. But like, okay, so Grab driver comes, I usually, give them a 20 baht note. So I mean, that's compared to how much you tip in the U.S., that's like nothing. When I got a haircut, I thought it was ridiculously cheap, so I tipped a bit more for that. And I liked the haircut; it came out really good. Certain other things, like if I'm at a Thai style restaurant, or street food, I don't tip at all. Taxi, I would just round up to the nearest whatever I get a Grab, I usually do 20 baht. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else.
Yeah, you got three things there you've mentioned. Okay, now this is coming from Chanya, right? Now Chanya's taught me tipping and what is expected, or what is acceptable. Basically, never tip with coin. Always use a paper note, and 20 baht is the accepted gratuity for pretty much everything across the board. As you said, tipping in places like service industries like hairdressing and things where people are actually doing things to you, right? And they haven't cut your throat, you get the idea. Yeah,
they take a lot more money if they do that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, again, that's coming up to how did you feel about it? Like in my case, like I don't tip Chanya when I go for a haircut. Like I tipped her 200,000 baht.
Yeah.
I bought her shit. I bought her. I'm not going to tip my girl. I bought her the salon. Come on. But when I go, there's a massage place down in PopeKael, which is in the Big C Mall. When I've gone to there, it was the place I tended to go for my massage. Even though we had masseuses in the street, I pretended to go there because it was just more of a professional sort of rig, with little closed rooms and everything else. Well, they weren't completely closed. They had sort of doorways with curtains and curtains sort of separating and things. Like, you get the idea. It's a little bit more private than the typical masseuse, where it's you've got 4 mats on the floor and curtains where you can hear the person in the next behind the curtain grunting and groaning. Anyways, to get the idea, that's why I went down there anyway. Getting sidetracked, but yeah, when I went there, they're charging 300 baht an hour for your massage, and that's the Thai massage where the girls wrapping herself around you. They're trying to break you. They're trying to pretzel you. And some people don't like that. Some people do like that. I'm neither here nor there. But they wouldn't do they would do the oil massage, but because it's all done on the floor. An oil massage is really difficult when you're doing it on one of those thin mats. So that's when I went to the local street when I wanted an oil massage, and they had you up on the table. But yeah, so they're all pretzeling you, and there's a lot of physical work for an hour, and you go on, geez, for 300 baht, God, she's worked up a sweat, and so I would tip her. I would tip her 50 baht, and I'd give it to her. I wouldn't give it to the house. but the house would still give me the tea on the way out, you know. And she was always very appreciated, you know, that they tipped at 50 baht. And that's like a, you know, what's that, 50 baht, it's probably 15% of the value, you know, so... But as I said, they get in those big massage places, they get very little remuneration for their work. I'm not quite sure what it is. No, the establishment doesn't have to pay anything more than 300 baht a day. You know, that's the minimum wage. So, and the third one was
well,
yeah.
With those places, I know, like, some places in the U.S., like, all of the masseuses, it's kind of like the hairstylist things at salons, that they don't necessarily work for the business. They just rent a space from the business. So they are their own, like, subcontractors ish for it. It's a different way, and I don't know if that's the case in Thailand, if it's like traditional business model where they work for the massage place, or if they are their own business that is paying for space in that location.
Well, I can only go off not so much Chanya, but with the crew. They've got the 3 shops now. They've got the one outside the big Siam Yai, which is like the tent where you get the passing trade, and there are 2 other shops. One in their house, one in their rented house down in Khon Kaen, and the other one, which is on sort of Sai Ha or Sai Si or something, which is more like a garage shop. They have a sheet, you know, and every time they cut, they put their name and what the cut was or whatever they were doing. Because sometimes it's just a shave, sometimes it's just a haircut, sometimes it's a haircut and shave, and they'll just put the 1, 2, or 3 on the sheet. And at the end of the day, they were getting 40% of the value of the cut. So a typical haircut was 120 baht. They would get 40% of that 120 baht, whatever the math is on that. Like what's 60 baht, 55 baht, 60 baht or something for the 120. No, probably 50 baht for 120. Yeah. So, but yeah, and they would just tally up at the end of the day, and they would get paid on a daily basis. There's no weekly salaries, but you know, and even if they had to go early, they would then again sort of, you know, they'd just look at the sheet. Well, you've done 5 cuts. That, you know, Chai would then just go, well, she wouldn't be Chai with Nan. Nan was the one who handled the money, not Chai. Women always tend to handle the money, not the guys. And then so Nan would just get there. Okay, you did 5. You know, did the 5 cuts. Here's your 5 cuts worth, and then they'd wander off. You know. The shop is still open, but that's how it ran for their little salon. And that seems to be the way it works with most Thai things like that. But they're not established, franchises. I think when they get a franchise business, there has to be a lot more paperwork and a lot more accountability is probably the word I'm sort of saying, because the fact that money that's been collected there, you know, Chai and Nan would have to pay the tax, but again, there's no real payroll tax and things like that go on it as well, or what we're used to is what we call payroll tax. So yeah, it's an interesting situation, but as I said, this is the way it works in Thailand. Yeah, so I said, you know, what did I say? I said notes, not coins. Yeah. Service industries where they're putting a lot of labour. Taxis, yes, and you do. I think the other one you said was taxis there. I do the same. So, you know, if I'm on a taxi and I go from here, well, from the old house to Bang Wah, which was the BTS. Now that varied. So it usually become 105 baht to 110 baht. Well, I would just pull out 120 baht, you know, and that's it. You know, whatever was the change was tip. So they got notes. And they would always sort of start searching around in their little, you know, side compartment or, you know, centre console for the change, and they said, no, maybe not, and just get out of the door. Also, another little tip about taxis. There's something we don't do in the West, something that I now do religiously. If you're getting out of a taxi, always look behind the taxi before you open that fucking door. Because you just can't. These motorcycles, they don't give a damn. They would, you know, depending on how close the taxi is, they will run you down. And of course, if you open the door in a taxi and a motorcyclist hits the door, you're invariably going to have to pay for that. It's a real weird and wonderful rule here in Thailand. You're farang, you didn't look behind you, and then what's the bike? The bike riders invariably don't have insurance, and a taxi going to have to cover his costs because it's not his taxi and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, always look behind you when you, if you know what I mean. Always look behind you. A couple of times I have.
Those motorbike, like they're sneaky. They sneak up right next to you when you're riding. It's amazing, like how ninja-y they are.
Yeah. Even some of the loud bikes, they still sort of zip up the side of there. Oh, God, how they fit there, I don't know. But yes, tipping is it's a really weird thing. That the takeaway from the video came about this person saying, "Why didn't I tip the service station attendant?" Well, she did this. Where's your money? How do you tip that? You just can't tip that. There's nothing she did for me. Right? That's her job to pump gas.
I mean, if they would have wiped down your vehicle or did something like that, then I could see it. But I don't even know. Are there gas stations that aren't full service in Thailand?
I haven't
actually go to where they
not seen one at all.
Okay, so you don't really have the choice. So, I've got this story in the U.S. Sorry, I'm going to go off on a tangent.
Go off on a tangent.
Tipping, because this pisses me off, and this is, it leads me to how much I have started to hate Denver, Colorado. Anyway, so in Denver, you have the airport, Denver International Airport, and then you have the rental car companies that are away, you have to take the shuttle that is provided by the rental car agency to get to the rental car areas. So I'm going with me and my backpack to go to there. Anyway, it's a big weekend in Denver. It was February 2021. I get on the shuttle, I go, and then there's a person that's sitting out there. The driver then goes outside and is standing there with a bucket, as you walk out, the driver's just standing there with a bucket, hey, tip me, you're expected to. It's no, you drove me here, I've got my own backpack, you didn't haul my backpack out or anything for me, it's mine, and I don't have a choice in this matter, and I'm going to pay a ridiculous amount for the rental car. No, you're not getting a tipped minimum wage. You're getting an untipped. Give me a break. Come on. No. And just the attitude of the person, sour face. The same thing at the United curbside check-in. I was checking in my bags, and the guy's glancing down at the tip jar, as I'm checking in my bags. No. This is a normal function of the airline. This isn't something special. Are you going to caress my luggage lovingly as you put it in there to make sure it has a safe journey? Are you going to wish it well? No, you don't get a tip for that. No.
And have you seen those luggage handlers in the airports? They in front of everybody.
Yes,
you sort of
gets behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, never gate side check your luggage, because that's the worst. Just pro tip, don't do that. You could look up videos on that. Check it before then. It will get handled better than gate side checking.
Just a quick shout out there for Iron. Just a quick shout out for Iron Suits. Thanks for the £5 there, buddy. Always greatly appreciated.
Awesome.
Can't wait for Thai Tom Chili. Da Tom Chili. Mark. Is that something I'm supposed to know? Is that a food? Da Tom Chili. Can't say I recognise the name. Anyway. Just trying to say it a few different ways to see if it sort of resonates with me. But anyway, Andy Stubbs uses Grab. Yeah, Grab Food, for instance. On the app there is a tipping function on the app. But then of course, if you're tipping on the app, the driver only gets a percentage of that because that's part of the app. So if you want to leave the driver a tip, it's always, like, again, a standard gratuity for a Grab driver or Grab, food delivery is 20 baht. Don't belittle it. You may be sort of using, and again, you might be able to get away with it if you're paying when the food gets there, and then always round up to the nearest 20 baht is always like accepted. As I think I made a comment on the in the thread for the video. There's our KFC is only 2 kilometres down the road, so and that's only an 8 baht delivery fee because of the distance. So I always tip the guy coming from there because he's had to go out his way, and it's 8 baht. So you can't even sneeze at that. But yeah, alternatively, like if I ordering pizza, and like we've got 3 pizza joints around here, and I think the other one was, and I'm invariably finding when you're ordering at 6 o'clock at night, 2 of those 3 are closed, and the only one that's open there was one that's furthest away, which is a 55 baht delivery fee. Well, sorry, well, I'm not tipping that one. You should have had you should have had the one that's closer to me open.
I've heard that, what was it? Somebody told me that the 7-Eleven drivers, if you use the 7-Eleven app, that they actually get paid well enough that you don't really have to worry about tipping them.
Well, I've never looked at the 7-Eleven app, and I don't know how you would actually order anything from 7-Eleven because which 7-Elevens have what product. Does each 7-Eleven have what's in the store on their app? I don't know how it works. I haven't even looked at the app, to tell you the truth.
Or maybe it's just, it knows what stores have that product and it just brings it to you from the nearest the nearest 7-Eleven that has that product.
Could be.
So if you want a spicy chicken toasty, and that's like 2 7-Elevens away, maybe that comes from that 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
But of course, what happens if you get a spicy chicken toasty and a special ice cream cone? So you have to get it at 2 7-Elevens. I don't know. That's a good question.
In my case, it's go on, Todd.
Yeah, no, Cody does like his special ice creams though.
Well, that's it. In my case, I want to go to the 7-Eleven because it's an excuse to get on my bike. Okay, it's only 2.5 kilometres on the road, but it's a 5 kilometre ride. Guess what? Without helmets, right? It's just get on the bike, go for a quick 5 kilometre ride up the road, mate. It is just, it's just pure freedom. Just getting on the bike, get a short run. Okay, there is a helmet law here, but we got no main roads. The main roads are the I can't even say that word, whatever. I did get it right once. And Petkasem Road. You got to wear helmets on those 2 roads. I'll have to look at the actual map. But when I read it, I can usually say it, but I can't think of the name off the top of my head. I'm not Thai yet. But yeah, so they're the only 2 roads you have to actually wear helmets on. Everything else around here is sort of there's no policing. Right, you're only going to wear it for your safety factors, and quite frankly, I've been riding for 50 damn years, well, not 50 years, but 40 years. So I've never really come off my bike, and I really know how to read the traffic. And of course, there's going to be a whole bunch of tyre kickers who say, "You got to think of your own safety." Well, come on, just wake up and smell the roses, guys.
No, that's something that should be everybody's personal choice.
It is a personal choice. I have my insurance. Right, and I take the risk, and I don't expect anybody to pay for anything if I was to come a cropper with that one. But I also appreciate the counter argument, the fact that you're putting strain on the health system because of your nefarious lack of care. Right, I can understand.
That's a weird argument, though, because then what happens if they're eating a diet that has too much sugar in it? Then they're putting arguably more strain on the health system than you are.
Exactly.
So you really want to argue that, then you can really go down the rabbit hole. I wear a helmet because I am a noob at riding. Mm-hmm. That's my case. Maybe when I've been riding for 40 years, maybe I won't. Maybe I will. But again, that affects me. That's not affecting anybody else. So Yeah, and to argue the healthcare system argument I've got an EMT friend that always wants to take that argument, and it's like, really, you should be telling me that I have, I'm more at risk at heart disease or something, because that's a worse strain on the system. So,
Yeah, heart disease, and of course, what is it? Your diet, so stop eating food, right? Wear a helmet, well, you stop eating food. Wear a helmet, well, how about you stop going to the strip joints? Wearing a helmet. Stop having, what's it called? Post-marital affairs. Wearing a helmet. You get the idea. Like, there's all these counter arguments, right? Why single helmets out, right? And and I've seen some pretty horrific accidents with people with helmets. They're alive until they take the helmet off, and then their fucking skull falls apart. So what did the helmet really do? They probably would have been better just, going out without the helmet. Because the pain and everything else that goes on when his head just collapses once they take the helmet off. Well, he was in pain all that time. If he didn't have the helmet off, he would have just gone out. And they can't fix it. Your head's bloody exploded. Again, sort of helmets. Well, whatever you get, like it protects the front of your face. Well, okay, cricketers nowadays wear helmets, but I remember when my father was playing cricket back in the 70s, and he took, he was batting, and took what they call a cricket ball to the face, smashed his whole jaw apart. But yeah, this is sort of the risk you take. Just wearing a helmet, does protect you a little bit, but he got through that. It's just one of those things. You play cricket because you enjoy it. You ride a motorcycle because you enjoy it. Once you've been told how you can conduct your own life, well, come on. It just gets a bit, like here's smallest violin playing my bleeding heart. But yeah, look, when I get out on the main roads, and if I'm riding for probably more than 10 minutes, then I'll have the helmet on. It's just that's my way of looking at what's the risk factor. I'm only just going up there. I know exactly where.
Risk versus reward.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what it is, and everybody can only judge that for themselves for things in life. Like, people can come up with, okay, what's the amount of lives that helmets save? Like, yes, there is numerical value to that. It's harder to determine the numerical value of the psychological effect that for you that riding with the wind in your face has. Like, I am sure that you might be able to come up with that. Like, how did that? But it's more difficult to have that argument. I still say that these self-risk things should be up to you, should be up to each person to determine.
But yeah, you should also
Well,
basically have.
two words
Go on.
recently.
Yeah.
Mitigating responsibility.
Oh yeah.
I think you and I have talked about this a lot, Wazza, on Discord. It's mitigating responsibility. You cannot mitigate stupidity. Stupidity is stupidity.
Well, that's what we say.
You're self-aware. You've got 6 senses. You're self-aware. If you can't use those 6 senses, I don't know. You're born with them. You're taught how to use them. If you don't use them properly, that's not my fault. That's not your fault.
I also look at.
It's not everyone else's fault.
I also look at this thing that me and Cody talk about all the time. This freedom we have here in Thailand, right? I like the idea that I can get on my bike, think about the fact that I've got a safety factor. I'm going to be driving for 5 minutes. That's cool. I'm going to be riding for 10 minutes. I feel I should put the open face helmet on. I'm going for a long drive. I'm going to put my full face helmet on. That's the way I look at it. I'm not sort of getting on my bike in Australia and going, I wonder how far I can drive before the police will fine me $400. It's a completely different mindset. And that's what I love. That's what I love about Thailand. And it's, do I want to risk a fine? That's all you think about. I want to risk a fine. You're not even thinking about your safety. Are we free in Australia? Really, Come on.
The law in Australia and the law in the US is something that they use to basically hang you with.
Yeah.
Like that's the way that I look at it.
Oh, Roy, yeah, look, you're right. It's much easier to have a road accident in Thailand because got to face the fact that probably 15 to 20% of the people on the road here in Thailand don't have a license to start with. They were never taught to ride. The riding test is completely a benign sort of act anyway, and we don't want to go into it. Yeah, 50. I think this is something like 40 to 50% of riders who have accidents, right, are under the age of 18, and they don't have a license. This is why the numbers are so high, because it's up to you. Of course, where I have an issue with there, invariably, they will damage somebody's car when the car runs into them, right? And that car driver invariably has to wear the fact that he's just killed a person. Plus, he has to also pay for his own damage, because the family invariably can't afford, they've just lost their child, and the family can't afford to pay for your damaged vehicle as well because they didn't have insurance. But that's, again, it's come down to the freedom here in Thailand. You should ride with insurance, right? That's a choice, right? If you don't ride with insurance, then you're going to have to face the consequences. But I have no personal ill feeling towards the fact that we have a high road accident. I've been here for 5 years. I've seen how they drive, right? That is just a personal care and responsibility that they were never taught, right? They are just completely reckless, and we could argue again, why are they reckless? Well, they haven't been taught. But again, the other side is the fact that they're free to make the decision to ride in that sort of way. There's no policing. The amount of police I see in the road is just roadblocks. What they call roadside, checkpoints. I have yet to this day see a police officer pull somebody over, right? Or even on the side of the road where the police officer is writing a ticket. You could ride for less than a week in Australia and you will see a police officer on the side of the road issuing a ticket to somebody everywhere. And we got 25 million people in Australia, and we've got 65 million people here. We've got 25 million people over a large expanse. We've only got 2.5 million, I thought, was it 4 million in Sydney, isn't it? What's the Sydney population now? 4 million?
Oh, yeah, I think it's just over 4 million.
Yeah, whereas here in Thailand, if we look at Bangkok and surrounding provinces, we've got something like 15 million people, in effectively the same area as what we call Sydney metropolitan area. So you've got to ask those questions. Seriously, I see it every day. Somebody in Australia being pulled over and being issued a ticket. 5 years here, no, haven't seen it. I think I've seen it a couple of times now where I've actually seen a police officer with a siren on, but I firmly believe he was just late for dinner. He didn't seem to be doing any sort of policing work. He was just trying to get through the traffic, But yes,
I totally agree. It's all about the freedoms, was it? And that's one of the reasons why I want to come over. It's about the freedom of decisions, and what you decide to do is how you want to live your life.
Yeah. I mean, there's some minor details that a lot of people like to point out, like, oh, you're not free to get alcohol between midnight and 11 a.m. and then 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock,
But you are free to go to the shop and buy it between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m, right? And other times. So if you just use thinking, well, I'll go and buy it then. they don't stop you from drinking the alcohol. It's the law stops you from buying the alcohol, and then again only at places where only at places like
I
Second.
remember when pubs were closed on Sundays in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, they a lot of the counter argument.
plenty.
Yeah, the counter arguments are always a bit weird, aren't they? They don't look at it with the fact that if you just used half your common sense, you'd go and buy a 6-pack at 7-Eleven at 1:55 p.m. for that 4-hour period or 3-hour period until you could buy alcohol again. You know, a 6-pack that'll do you for 3 hours, won't it? If it doesn't, well, you've got a drinking problem, guys.
Yeah.
It's probably why you're having an issue with it, because you've got a drinking problem. But let's not talk about your drinking problem. Let's just demonise the rule. What? Come on, it's just counter arguments, you know.
Yeah.
It just goes on and on and on. I just can't get over it. It's just, some of the arguments just like you don't really sort of get that. This is one of the wonderful things about having a YouTube channel. You actually get to see a lot more up close and personal of this thinking process a lot of people go through. And look, everybody's on my channel. Like this, just clarify that on my channel in the comments section, you're free to say whatever you want. Just don't swear is one, because the swear words will get caught by the filter, and then of course I will then approve it or disapprove it depending on what the rant is about. But if I don't agree with you, guess what? You're free to say what you want. I have a little what the canned response. I just press a button, whatever. I'm not going to argue with you. I think there's this one video I sort of see on YouTube where the guru basically says one thing, and what's the secret to life? He says don't argue with anybody, and then the person sort of says, oh, that's not true, and he says, you're totally right. Just don't argue with people. It doesn't achieve anything. That's your opinion, my opinion. I'm not going to argue with people. It doesn't achieve anything. We can we can see life through one set of eyes or one reality tunnel. My reality tunnel seems to be working. I don't know. Did I do anything different? Well, I did a few things different in my life than most people. I didn't follow the crowd, right? When when everybody turned left, I tended to turn right, because just because they're doing it, does that make it right? I would sit down and intellectualize the process. Well, I saw my father retire at the age of 50, so instantly instilled in me the fact that, well, retirement age wasn't set at 65. You can retire if you have enough money. That's the answer, right? Don't expect the government to take care of you, right? The government's not going to take care of you. They can't even balance their books, right? We are taught from a very young age that we always should balance our books. Do we do it? No, with the access to easy credit. And look, don't worry, I'm not sort of saying I'm an expert. I got caught in the credit trap about in the mid-90s. And I got to a point there in the mid-90s, I was paying $400 a month on my credit card interest. That's sort of when it just basically the bell tolled for me, and I'm going, I need to fix this shit, $400 a month on top of your cigarette bill. You're wondering why you had no money, A wake-up call, So everything got rolled into the housing loan, and I was paying a 4% interest as opposed to a 24% interest and things like that. You get the idea, and that sort of got me sort of working, and I never run credit apart from my mortgage ever since. But how many people do that? The access to easy credit is just one thing that people get wound up into, They didn't have easy credit in the 70s, that was sort of something that was a privilege. We called a bank card. And all of a sudden sort of it just became ubiquitous throughout life, I still have credit cards. I don't use them. Well, actually, I think one of my cards gets used, and it gets used simply because you need to pay for things online, and they won't take PayPal, for instance. So yeah, happens.
Yeah,
But,
I use cards, but I use it and then pay it off every single month.
Yeah.
Pretty much, because I'm always trying to get those airline miles, and if they're going to give me airline miles for free, I'll keep using their card and not pay them interest. No biggie.
Don't pay them interest. Exactly right. The banks don't need it. You know, they make enough money. I don't see the banks. Are the banks suffering through this pandemic? I haven't seen any sign that
any big business, you know, like Amazon, 7-Eleven, the stuff like that, pretty much they're, could go into a whole rant about that, but you know, there's a guy, Louis Rosman, that talked about what happened for the U.S. with the payment protection plan that pretty much was supposed to go to small business but wound up going to all the large businesses. So, it's all screwy. Anyway.
Well,
Beside that rant, just try and support small businesses as much as you can during this time.
Well, they are. So the writing's now coming out, or the answer's now coming out. The fact that this neoliberalism that's been introduced over the last 40 years basically doesn't work. Trickle down economy doesn't work, right? It's the small people that are keeping the small people, you know, alive. Big business don't give a frick anymore. That's it, you know. Back to the whole, you know, tipping thing. Well, when things get out of this pandemic and we can actually go and visit a restaurant again, you know, I will be making an effort to actually make bigger tips to the servers, simply because of the fact that they're probably sort of in debt to their eyeballs, you know, through, you know, whatever means that they can fund themselves. Let's sort of trying to do our bit to sort of try to improve the economy. We've got some great, you know, YouTubers over here in Thailand going above and beyond the call of duty, which is really setting them up to probably sort of a little bit of over scrutiny from the government, because the government doesn't like to have publicly, you know, aware people the fact that the Thai government can't support their people. And when sort of you know, I've sort of said that there's been one accident. I won't go into the details, but there was a situation of an expat a few years ago where he was doing some public community service deal, and he got raked over the coals. The whole thing blew up. But yeah, basically what was going on there, his support for the Thai people was highlighting the fact that the Thai government doesn't do this. Right, that's why he got raked over the top. That's why he got raked over the coals, right? Okay, and they used some quite nefarious sort of, you know, pinpoint things. Well, because there was children involved in your videos, so they highlighted that. Plus the fact that there was some strange accounting going on. They highlighted that. But did he get kicked out of the country? No, he just got told to just pull that material off the channel, and that was the end of story, you know. But he's still here and he's still doing his bit. And we've got a few YouTubers now in Pattaya, you know, also doing their food runs. I think it's a great idea, but don't do it because it's a YouTube video. Could we just keep it off the public limelight? Because all it does is just highlight. It doesn't highlight the fact that I don't do it. It highlights the fact that you're showing to the public the fact that the Thai government can't look after their own people, which is, there's two basic rules when it comes to Thailand and people on YouTube, right? Don't talk about the government and their shortfallings, and don't take Thai jobs. Well, feeding the Thai people could be considered to be a Thai job. There's Thai people, Thai rak Thai, Thai looks after Thai. When you get involved, you're really just basically painting a target on your back for some hurt later down the track is all I can think of. It may not happen. Maybe people are just coming to the fact that, look, the government's sort of turning a blind eye to it, but it really does highlight the fact that they're not doing their job. And like I've seen some of the posts that Chanya's been putting on Facebook, she's out there and making certain public statements about the fact that the government no longer care for their people, which is basically the feeling across, the board of the Thailand people, from what I can sort of see, or the ones that are posting on my Facebook feed. Everybody's sick and tired of it. But yeah, I think the best thing to just steer clear of the discussion. We are foreigners. We're here as guests of the country, and while we're a guest of the country, don't get involved in their country politics or affairs. Let the Thais deal with it. Thais rak Thai, Thai rak Thai. Yeah. Well, that's it. Let the Thais deal with it. But look, if you're going to help to support the people out there and do food runs and all that sort of stuff, don't make a video of it. We don't, it's a great idea. I think it's great that you're doing it, but you just highlight the fact that, the Thai government is really not looking after their people, and it's going to come back and bite you in the arse somewhere, I'm pretty sure. Sick puppy. The best thing I can do for my kids is to leave them knowledge on how to retire. Yes. Getting back to the retirement thing again, this is my daughter. People sort of say, well, why don't you, why aren't you, constantly in contact with your daughter? Well, we taught our daughter to be self-sufficient. She can do whatever we taught her. That's her life. Every decision, all I remember is, the one father to daughter talk I had when she was 15. She came home from school. There was a letter from the headmaster from the secondary school stating the fact that she had been caught truanting, and it was up to us to discipline our children. I sat her down, right, on the lounge, right. She thought the world was going to crash in around her, and I just said to her, Sarah, look, Sarah, I don't know what I can say about this. And she thought she was going to get a beating, or I don't know what she was thinking. She thought that Dad's never really had that, disciplinary talk with her before, because we didn't need to. She was brought up properly. She was educated. I just said to her, Sarah, don't fucking get caught. And she looked at me. She was completely dumbfounded. She didn't know what to think. And I said, I just had to explain to her. I said, look, I must have probably, when I was at secondary school, towards the later stage of secondary school, I was wagging 1 or 2 days a week, right? Never got caught. You're a disgrace. Never saw another letter from the headmaster. I don't care whether she was truanting or not. That's a schooling system. But guess what? She never got caught after that. So all good. I think I brought her up properly. I'd like her to reach out once a year and to say, hi Dad, happy birthday, or whatever, just to say, Father's Day. I think Father's Day is coming up. When's Father's Day in Australia?
September 5th.
September 5th. So it's just even on Facebook, she's on my Facebook. Just hi Dad, happy Father's Day. That's all I want. But it's up to her. She's been brought up to run her own life. She doesn't need her dad. I'm sure the fact that if shit come, shit at the fan, I'm sure she'll reach out to me. But again, I believe she's been brought up properly. She knows how to deal with life. And she's not been one of these what they call cotton wool kids. Anyway, Malcolm K. The news this week: Thai government concerned about record number of Thai people investing in crypto. I don't know what the numbers are there, Malcolm. But again, so it's all these. I think a lot of people now get into crypto because they think it's a get-rich-quick scheme. But if you look at the last 3 years or 4 years of crypto, right? Unless of course you know how to read the index charts, right, and watch the money flow, then you are setting yourself up for a world of hurt. I do index funds, right? That's a fairly assured way. As I think I was saying to Psycho this week, I made $15,000 in the last 30 days on my index funds, right? How much crypto would I have invested in to make $15,000? You've got to ask those sort of questions. Okay, I took a pretty big hit when the pandemic started, but it's the index funds are looking pretty healthy right now. But the index funds are long term. Crypto, I think on a long-term basis, if you're looking at it as a long-term investment, it has some validity. But at the moment, the volatility is just, it's scary. You should have bought it for 32. Don't buy it 48. I think it's going for. I'm pretty sure it's going to do another dive.
Yeah. See, I have some crypto, and there's certain things that I have slated for long term, and there's certain things that I've slated for short term. So, and I only invest in, as much as I can lose. That's my attitude on that.
Yeah, David come to me yesterday. He was talking about something. This is probably more focused at Psycho here, but he's come up and he's shown me, talked about this new MMO, space-themed MMO called Star Atlas. Right, now this game here is going to have, it's actually going to be linked to their own cryptocurrency, which you can buy into with FTX, or you can buy into with a few other things, but you can using FTX as the exchange. So I've now had I sent them an email off 2 days ago to FTX because I have a difficulty trying to register with the NYC on FTX because I'm in Thailand and I got a Thai phone number, right? So I can't authenticate to my Australia address and my Australia, taxation system because their online registration system doesn't work that way. So I've now reached out to them and says, how do I do that? Like the NYC, you want to know where my taxation is? My taxation in Australia. But I have to have, I've only got a Thai phone number. So you need to do it manually. Still no word from FTX. And shows me the fact that they're really not switched on. I would have expected within 48 hours for them to have got back to me, but they haven't. And that's again, it's a banking system. You should be prompt with your email response, unless of course they're being overloaded. Who knows? But the actual coin that they're using, Solana, is their primary cryptocurrency. And Solana, for instance, when I looked at the charts yesterday, it had a 68% growth in 7 days. Nice to have known Solana was going to do that, 7 days before. Whether it's going to sustain that growth, who knows? It's just, look, don't talk to me about crypto. I'm a novice with crypto, right? I probably know more than most people getting into crypto, right? I know more about it. That's why I'm very reluctant to actually go and invest in it. But I do like the idea of a game being funded on crypto. The latest word is the fact that I think there's something came through yesterday. It was at the OnlyFans website. They're going to be pulling down all their porno on OnlyFans, right? And the world is up in arms about it. Well, guess what? You've got to wake up to the fact that the only way that was working is the fact that they have to use financial transactions which are governed by the banking system, like PayPal and other things like that. They're financial systems, and financial systems do not want to have anything to do with porno. So right, they'll fund all the world's arms dealing, no problem whatsoever. You can go and shoot people to your heart's content, but we can't see nipples. I'm sorry, and we will not fund nipple viewing. I'm sorry, we can't deal with that. We can't be involved in nipple viewing, but we'll give you money for guns, but we can't see nipples on our internet. Anyway, so it looks like, from what I can understand, OnlyFans is probably going to bow out of the direct payment system using the standard credit card and PayPal systems, and they'll probably run their own cryptocurrency, right? Just for the fact that they can get in and people can get paid. But to get paid on OnlyFans, you'll have to obviously have a crypto account and use their cryptocurrency, because again, the banking system will they shut down transfers into Bitcoin, because once it gets into the Bitcoin or into Ethereum, right, they can't control it, which means the fact that OnlyFans can show all the porn they want. Then of course, who's hosting their porn site? Well, that's another question altogether. I think OnlyFans is being hosted on the Amazon cloud. I can't be sure on that one, but yeah, if it's on the Amazon cloud, then you might sort of see the content pulled down, because again, Amazon doesn't want anything to do with nipples either. So that would the sort of second pulling down of the whole OnlyFans sort of site. Oh, the world is completely screwed, I tell you. It's a worry. Trying to keep up there. So a lot of chat going on here, guys. What am I missing?
Yeah. I think Sick Puckby and I are actually on the same side of this argument. I mean, part of the reason why I like crypto is, if you handle it right, it's a form of currency that is truly yours and not the banks that you're allowed to use, or the banks that the bank basically controls for you. Like, there's enough stuff that I've had to deal in the last year with moving some money that I just really don't trust banks anymore. Like, I'm willing to use banks, but they make me nervous now.
Yeah. Billy asks, the index funds sound good. Can you give me some clues which funds or bank? All I can say, Billy, is look, I'd love to help you out, but each country will operate index funds differently, and the only way to really leverage index funds is you're going to need to pay somebody to set you up properly, because I am not qualified to give any sort of advice. I went through a broker to set up my funds. I have 7 different index funds, and 5 of those 7s are really doing quite well. 2 of them right now are still struggling, but at least they've made the gains over the losses. But again, I'm not qualified in any way, shape or form to tell you how those index funds should work or what ones would work. You need to see a broker, somebody who is accredited and will stand by their brokerage and sort of take the lumps with you, if you know what I mean. Who are they investing with? They're a broker. check who they're invested with before you actually invest in it. Don't take fly by the night ones. But yeah, due diligence, that's all I can say. But again, we're working with index funds is something that's been established over 100 years. We know the game. It's a banking system. I don't like it, but again, I'm with crypto. Like I like the idea of crypto. I think it's totally the next step forward in the right direction. We need to get rid of this 1% hierarchy of the banking system. As I said before, like, we don't see the banks suffering in this pandemic. They still seem to be making money, and don't forget, like, one of my index funds is based on banking sort of cartels, right? And it's doing extremely well, right? So there's nothing wrong with get the idea, but my thing is the fact that I would like to be able to offer an alternative to payment, for tips here on YouTube. I know a few channels are doing it now. They'll give you what they call a key, a public key, where you can then deposit $5 into my crypto wallet. Now that's a great idea. It gets it out of the banking system. It still has, it'll still be sort of audited, through my banking system when I do my tax. But at least people are sort of saying the fact that it's a better way to go. Okay, so I need to get myself a public wallet that they can do that. I've got my ledger here. I haven't even turned my ledger on. I've got a few accounts. I got an account on Coinbase. I'm setting up an account here on FTX. And again, Australia has to go through a whole bunch of different rules as well, because the Australian taxation system not as easy as it is in America. But yeah, that's the first one. The second one is the fact that if we can solve the problem of the high transaction fees on the bigger coins, right? If that can get competitive, right? As I said, I think we said it a couple of days ago. I just transferred, or last month I transferred, well, beginning of this month I transferred $3,000 Australian. I paid $19 for it to come from Australia to my Thai bank. There's just absolutely no way I can do that through Bitcoin or any coin function right now. Right, so that leverage of using the alternate transfer system simply doesn't work for me. Those fees have to get below transfer-wise before I can entertain it. But I do like the idea of the fact that I do see the day when, with this whole pandemic and everything else, it's a complete reset going on with society. And one of those reset functions will, each government is broke. Who they're in debt to, I don't know. It's based on your ability to produce a deficit, or what they call it, a GDP versus deficit sort of equation. Your inputs have to equal your outputs and sort of growth and everything else, right? So how you're in debt to somebody. Don't get me started on the $25 trillion in debt that the world is into to the aliens. I don't know. Who are they in debt to? This World Bank? What did the World Bank do? I don't know. It's beyond my comprehension.
And this is one of the many reasons why we are not financial advisors.
Yeah. If I could understand how that system worked, all the better. But yes, same here. Where on my superannuation just made 35,000. Yeah, in the last seven weeks. Yeah, okay, that's pretty good. I can withdraw the whole lot next year, tax free. Don't forget my index funds I'm talking about is what they call a private superannuation fund. It's actually not done through, it's what they call a wholesale superannuation fund. If you're in Australia, you do not, okay, that's a bit of advice I can give to people in Australia. If you're in Australia, you do not have to use the government accredited superannuation funds, right, or even the sort of big names. You can, if you've got $100,000, you can go in and you can get yourself what they call your own personal wholesale super fund for you. Like I could take people's money now and put it and invest it in my superannuation fund and give you money back for investing with me, because it's a private superannuation fund at all, but I don't want to do the paperwork. It is a wholesale superannuation fund which I run myself. Again, when I think I'm 60 years old now. I think 62 you can draw. I don't know. When can you draw it out without being taking a hit? Is it 60 or 62?
I don't know, mate, but I know the official retirement age is 67 now. So
yeah, I think 62. I can take the whole lot out and pay zero tax on it when I'm 62. But would I do that? Probably not. I'll probably leave it in there. I may even change that fund and sort of say pay me a sort of an annual stipend. I can just basically to tick that box, annual stipend, and as I said, effectively, $35,000-$40,000 a year comes to me from that fund, right? And the fund would continue to grow at that level. It's sort of set as a superannuation.
Dallo says 60, and Gravesy said 60 as well. So you can actually do it now.
I can actually do it now but as I said, while it's growing, I'd cut off my nose to spite my face.
Spite your face, yeah.
But as I said, they are index funds. It is a wholesale superannuation fund. You need at least $100,000 to get into that wholesale fund, or with the merchant or the brokerage I'm with, at least anyway, which was Colonial Investments, I think they call themselves now. It's part of Commonwealth Bank. But yeah, so you can do your research. But yeah, so my preservation age was 56, but that's another thing altogether. I actually thought I could take mine out at 56, which was my original plan when I was coming here, but because I actually left the country before I turned 56, then it sort of made the whole effort harder. And if I'd done that, I probably would have been better off now, because I wouldn't have taken. I would have been sort of sitting in a probably a cash account and just earning sort of minuscule interest, and it probably would have rode through the pandemic quite well. Who knows? Hindsight is a wonderful thing. But yes, It's doing all right now. I don't have any need. I've got plenty of cash to keep me sort of going for the next 5 years. 5 years time, that's when I'm going to start to make some serious decisions on what to do with it. So we'll see how we go. And again, I think I was talking to Psycho. We're talking about online microtransaction businesses, Second Life. Was it you I was talking to, you or Todd?
It was
No,
one of my friends, or maybe it was you. Yeah,
No, it was
I'm
me.
trying to remember it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I was, I get a stipend from one business that's still running now. The only trouble is the fact that the business has to continue to run. There are ways. If you ever read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki makes one good point, which has always stuck in my mind. If you're going to do anything, do it once and get paid for the rest of your life. Okay, so I'm not an author. I can't write books. I wouldn't know where to start writing a book, so I can't be a publicist or an author writing novels. I got some great ideas for some stories, and hopefully Oggy will one day tell me how that system works, because Oggy does proofreading for these up-and-coming authors, and he reads 2 or 3 books a week. And critiques them and sort of does some error checking and everything else, but he knows how the system works, and hopefully when he gets closer to coming here, he'll tell me how he's doing his, and we'll work together on that and maybe write some books. Until then, I've got my YouTube, which is pocket money. That pays $200 to $300 US a month. When I wrap it all together, I do pay tax on that. I pay tax in Australia on that. I'm not trying to obscure the fact that you make money on YouTube. I've never tried to avoid that. Yes, you can make money on YouTube, but as to this thing I was doing 2007, I did 6 months of solid work making 3D objects in this gaming world, and within that 6 months I was making $1,000 a month sitting on my chair just doing computer shit. I had to stop doing it because of the fact that was coming through into my bank account, and red flags. I think if I'd done more than $10,000 in a year, that would have tripped some sort of fail safe in the banking system. The fact that where's this extra $10,000 come from? So I stopped doing it. I think I bowed out for a couple of reasons. One was, I didn't need the money. I was getting paid quite well, in my job. So that was just the game. It was just pocket money. I still declared at the end of the year, but the point was it was coming to me outside the US tax system, because it was being done, this gaming money outside the banking system, which they're now cracking down on quite seriously. But yeah, it's 3D objects, right? I'm in Second Life at the moment. I've been in Second Life for 15 years, and I can make product in there as well and sell that. But again, I have to register them with their tax and with the US tax authority, and they take out 5% of that tax before it gets to me in Australia. And there are other gaming things that are also available. But again, do I really want to do the work? I'm enjoying my retirement. I have been thinking about doing more work in that area, but only because the fact that we got cabin fever. I can't go out to the bar. I can't go and see Susie. I can't go and do this. I can't do that. You start to think about what else you can do to occupy the mind. Like, I played 2 different games this week. What games I probably wouldn't normally play. So, and again, they suck up some hours, don't they? But yeah. I've been thinking about other things to do, So, but that game there, it still pays me $100 a month. That's 12 years later. I'm still getting paid $100 a month for something I did 12 years ago. And yes, I still have to tell the tax authority the fact that I make that money, blah blah blah. So, whether you win or lose, I don't know. It's just, I just follow the thing. When I turn 67, they don't have to pay tax anymore. So guess what? Maybe at 67 I'll start really hammering it. All that money coming through in Australia, I don't have to pay tax on it, apart from the 5% tax I have to pay in America. Anyway, moving right along. What time is it? Where's my watch? Oh, here. Okay. 50 minutes to go. What have I missed on the thing? I believe to have to be in Australia to be claim your pension. Yes, that was part of all the plan. I already sort of accepted, and I never accepted the fact that the government was going to pay me a pension, even though it's in their constitution that we are entitled to it, and our taxation system basically actually has a caveat which has not been overridden because the constitution hasn't been written. The fact that I think 7.5% of our taxation dollars is put aside in the system for our pension. So if you've paid tax, you are entitled by the constitution. But whether you need a constitutional lawyer to tell you, unfortunately, it's going to require a class action suit before that'll actually happen. But most people don't even know it because it gets obscured by all the other addendums and changes to the taxation laws and everything else. And basically, the government's already spent that money, so it doesn't even exist. But yeah, well, let's not go into that discussion. I think what Stephen Clark sort of said that that's one of the reasons why he went back to Australia. So he could, I think he's out of Australia for so long. You have to be back in Australia for 4 years or something before you'll be paid the pension. There's some obscure rules about it, and I said if you need to rely on the pension that the government is going to give you, you've made the wrong decisions in your life. I've never actually sort of equated the fact that life was going to have a pension from the government. Then of course you become a slave to the government. What else can you do? I'll be a slave to the banking system, but to the government, a bunch of mindless jerks. They'll be the first against the wall when the revolution comes. Adolf Hitler's pyjamas and uniform were found in Berlin, but Adolf Hitler flew to Denmark where he committed suicide and was buried in secret. Not sure where that's going, G-Player, but anyway.
Yeah, that's random.
Totally random. It probably will be 60 years of age, just like the superannuation. Yeah, probably. Again, I have to actually go back to Australia to sort of clarify a few of those things because, and I have to pay somebody, that's an expert on that to actually find out what really goes on. Right now, it's not bothering me. I could do some more 3D content and make some more money. I could actually take this whole YouTube thing seriously and make some money. A lot of people have told me the fact that you have the potential to be a big YouTuber, but I've got to get it out of the whole mates, talking to my mates things, and making videos for mates, and actually make video content that's more generic, towards the YouTube system that the advertisers want to pay advertising dollars towards. Which of course that becomes your channel. Not only becomes you, having your own point of view on anything. You have to actually play the ball that the advertisers want, and quite frankly, who gives a shit about that? But the potential's there, if you know what I mean. In an attempt to hide the barrel side, Hitler has gained access to the entire treasury of Europe and emptied several Viking tombs in Scandinavia. That is again more random. I think what was that movie where the Germans actually had a moon base or something like that? Was it? It was
Iron Sky.
Iron Sky. Yeah.
Yeah, there's Nazis on the moon.
Nazis on the moon. I just loved that movie. It was a crack up. I'm sorry. When you reach a preservation age. So when I was 56, I could have withdrawn 205,000. It was probably less back in a few years ago, but yeah. As I said, it wasn't part of the plan. The plan was to sit there as long as I possibly could before I leveraged it, let it grow and grow and grow, and then pull it out of that system and probably put it in some sort of altcoin currency. Sorry, left for a minute to go to... Sorry, left for a minute To work on koi
He
have
left.
no idea
He
what's
came
going
back.
on.
It's the Hitler channel.
So, they'll,
We're just as surprised as you are.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah,
gotta
okay.
love
Yeah.
Thailand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so we started out. We talked about tipping. We went on to helmet law. Living free in Thailand.
Brushed on crypto for a little bit.
Brussels and crypto. Now we're talking about Hitler. I don't know how. Sorry, the flow seems to just. I'm lost. I'm sorry. I just completely lost it.
This is when I ask you to send me some of your ganja coffee, was it? Because I'm not with it. Seriously.
Oh, that's a good question. When are we going to see full legalization in Thailand? What's my opinion on full legalization of cannabis? Well, now the fact that ganja, it's now I think legal for Thais to be allowed to grow. Each Thai is allowed to grow 5 plants themselves. So a typical Thai family living in rural Thailand, when maybe sort of a family of 10, grandfathers, mothers, fathers, children, they can now grow effectively 50 plants. But the law states if the plants flower, they have to cut the flowers off and send them to the government. If the plants seed, they have to take the seeds and give them to the government. I don't know if seeds were included, but flowers are part of the seed anyway. And it's not allowed to go over 0.5% THC. They still don't have a proper test, and unfortunately, I think that the current testing, the blood test, will pick up cannabis in your bloodstream, irrespective if it has THC or not. So everybody's now at risk of being pulled over for a blood test, or being set aside for a blood test, which could prove positive in a testing environment. Look, there's a whole can of worms there. But quite frankly, I'm pretty sure that the Thai authorities, apart from commercial trafficking, which we're still seeing some news reports, I'm pretty sure that a Thai cultivar of THC cannabis is already circulating around the countryside, outside authorities, or basically even under the authorities' nose, with a little bit of a authority per diem. As long as it doesn't make the news, it's out there already. I don't see anybody being blood tested for the stuff. Maybe if you have an accident, you might get a blood test, but this is the way Thailand goes. They can now grow it, so I'm pretty sure the whole thing is quite available within sort of most of Thailand. Mark Van Dorn, Robert got my COE. Good on you, Mark. That's the way to go. So, how many more days? 14 more days, is it? So 12 more days, 10 more days? I don't know.
And are you doing the Phuket thing, or are you doing ASQ somewhere?
He's
From
crazy.
memory, Mark's doing ASQ at Pattaya.
Oh, okay.
That's what he said last week. Closer to where he's going to be based with his wife, from memory.
Hey, Warren, you could apply your helmet views to condom use in Thailand. Well, I don't play the field, so I don't have to worry about using condoms. But if you get what I mean, again, it's a risk. If you don't wear the condom, STIs. I think STIs are probably more synonymous than problems with other things with helmet laws. But anyway. 27 days. If Thailand was smart, they would legalise it and use GDP, use their GDP. Well, yeah, look, I'm totally on board with that one, Sick Puppy. Unfortunately, we've got a very conservative population here. who have drunk the Kool-Aid that America fed them in the 70s or 60s and 70s. They drank that Kool-Aid, and there are other things inside that don't get really talked about, to do with certain medicinal products from the pharmaceutical industries that are actually not available to countries that don't have a full mandate on with this, what they call tier 1 sectioning off of cannabis. They can't get certain drugs into their country unless, of course, they conform to some sort of international drug law that was founded by the American government in the late 60s, early 70s. I don't have all the details. I just remember reading it a few years ago.
America ruining everybody's fun.
Yeah, well, that's it. Got to look after the pharmaceutical industry. That's where the money for the government comes from. Come on, Every problem in this world functions around the flow of money going to the top and not filtering to the bottom. The rich get richer. The poor under the class, they're just kept there to keep the middle class doing the work because they're scared of becoming the poor. When I booked, there was no internet flights. Okay. Oh, internal flights. When I booked, there was no internet. What did I say? Internet. I got to get better glasses. Maybe I should get a better set of sight-corrected ones rather than. I put Mother's glasses on yesterday or the day before. She's got the same problem as me, which is she's long-sighted, and they are actually quite good. They actually had a better magnification, but they're not completely correct for my short-sightedness. But I could hold my hand up and I could see all those. All the cracks in my hands, and to get the idea. My glasses cost $100. Her glasses cost 5,900, and really, I think they were just a 2.5 times magnification rate. So, would I spend 5,900 on being optically correct? To getting both eyes exactly matched and all that. It's all right. I can see enough to play my games. I'm good. To originally San Fernando Valley, right beside the all my life, pretty much. I'm just trying to keep up with the conversation. Sean Smith, if New South Wales would do the same, then we would improve the economy and recover faster. Look, I've always sort of said, cannabis should be legalised, just like legal like tobacco, just with proper sort of medical ratings. They sort of say nobody's died from cannabis, for as long as people are known. But once it's legalised, then of course you'll get stupid people, smoking cannabis, and they might not directly die from smoking, inhalation of the smoke, but again, there's no real study being done on, whether cannabis, causes lung cancer, because invariably, when most people smoke cannabis, they're mixing it with tobacco anyway, so it's a bit of a sort of a skewed sort of situation. Not enough data. I would have believed the fact that the impurities and the what do you call it, the carbons and other things, they for certain type of lung types, genetically, people would be susceptible for dying, just like they do with tobacco. But tobacco industries, that's the other thing. We're not smoking tobacco anymore. I used to grow tobacco at home. When I smoked cannabis, I also grew my own tobacco. So I didn't have all those carcinogens added into it. But you're not allowed to grow tobacco in Australia without a license. So there you go. Just catching up. La 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 la. Everybody's talking amongst themselves. They're not even asking any questions about Thailand.
Yeah.
It's all right.
No. Well, they're answering each other's questions.
That's it. Well, that's what we got here.
True self-sufficient community, Wazza.
Yeah, let's see. We'll just sit down here.
Yeah.
Just hit that like button, guys. There's this little super chat thing down there. Talk amongst yourselves, but send us some beer money. Okay.
Sick puppy mentioned he's worried about living in a small Thai province. I think that's probably one of the best things about Thailand is that you can actually still experience country life and the proper country life.
Yeah, you don't have to go far. Like where I lived in Australia, you have to go a good distance. Like you have to go across the mountain range to get into what we would call proper rural Australia. Tamworth, Orange, Bathurst, sick puppy. Look at it. Couple marker. You had to go across the mountain range, which was a good 2-hour drive out of Sydney to get to the nearest rural area. Whereas like we're effectively rural here where we are, and we're only sort of, was it 35 minutes? 35 kilometres was it? I think we measured the other day. I'm not going to do it again today, but we measured it. I'm actually only 5 kilometres further from the CBD here to what I was living in Australia. And again, even in Australia, where I was living in Australia in Sydney, I only had to drive another 5 kilometres through the gorge and I would be in, what they call farmland, rural area. Anyway, it was still Galston, but it was basically commercial farming, large paddocks. So it was really more sort of horses and things like that, but you get the idea. But it was, green pastures everywhere and commercial farming. Here, I could throw a cricket ball and I could hit commercial farming, but it's all mixed. That's what I do love about Thailand, apart from the central CBD area where it's just all, high rises and lean-tos. Which is, I still got to make those contrast videos at some stage if we could actually get out of lockdown. People don't realise how contrastable Thailand living is. You'll have this freaking multi-billion-dollar high-rise, and right beside it you've got somebody's shack. And
that's one of my favorite things about Thailand is it's not like all same building. Like for the next 5 miles, you're gonna have like this same type of building, like U.S. suburbia that's just miserable to drive through and look at.
Yeah,
it's interesting. It's cool to see, like in Bangkok, you've got like glistening tower of glass next to some Thai traditional building, and then next to a shack, next to a 5-star hotel, next to again just some klong that you wouldn't want to fall into, but I mean it still adds to all of the ambiance, and that's one of my favorite things about Thailand is it's just everything can kind of coexist with each other. You don't have to have the like only this type of building in this area.
Yeah, so I always use the examples we have, like Hyde Park in Australia. Let me get a map up here. Let's go into a map and share it with you guys here as well, just so you can see it. Screens there. If we go to a satellite view, what screen did I just share? Did I just share screens? Yeah, there we go.
You've got your map up.
Okay, so you look at New York. So we go to New York to start with. You got this big was a Manhattan Island. I can never really sort of work it out. It's just weird, isn't it? I don't live there, so I'm not really identifying very well. Come on, give the map a chance to... Where's Manhattan Island? Oh, Statue of Liberty, there we go.
Yeah, it's
there it is, yeah, and you got this
I've
green...
never actually been to New York, so I can't speak to it.
You've got this block of what's this called, the green centre of New York, but you've got a little bit of green around here. You go from there and you go to sort of Sydney, Sydney, New South Wales, and again, it's a model again of New York. You got this nice little green spot. It's not a well, you actually got two green spots. You've got a botanical garden as well as the. Oh, come on! What is Google taking so long for? Okay, so I am streaming, but it shouldn't be that bad. So you got this nice little botanical garden green spot. But that aside, you also have a green park in here as well. Where is the green? There it is. This one here. This is Hyde Park, again modelling on what they did in New York. Like you had Central Park, we got Hyde Park. In Bangkok, alternatively, Bangkok. I'll just go. That's close enough. Now we have these what they call the lungs of Bangkok. There's actually two spots. Getting back to the commercial gardening, this is all commercial gardening here. This is one of the lungs of Bangkok. There are certain industry is not allowed to set up in here. It's a green zone. It's like such a stark contrast when you look at everything else around the place, of the way Bangkok is built up. And it is basically all city, and it's a sprawling city. Okay, so we're over the western side, but if you stay on the eastern side, we've got a bit of green over here, but not much green. We don't have a park. We do have the race course. Well, no, there's Bangarati Park. We do have Lumpini Park and then the racetrack. I suppose that qualifies as those green parks, but in contrast, that big lung, they don't even stand out.
I mean, yeah, and I hear this a lot of people criticizing that there's not green spaces in Bangkok, but one thing that's like small but it's everywhere is people and plants. Like there's an incredible amount of plants that people put outside to make the street feel green. Like if you go to Google Street View of downtown Denver, and then you go to like downtown Bangkok, there are more plants in downtown Bangkok than there is in downtown Denver.
Yeah.
So I don't like I get that if people are looking for parks, but how many people want to hang out in a park when it's 90 degrees or 30 something for the rest of the world?
Yeah, so, but where we live is back to the whole commercial gardening, right? It's all rice fields, either which there's some, yellow tree dicks and a few other odds and ends, but there's, most of it's all rice around here, and it's just lovely green areas. I can look out one window, and this field here has just been ploughed or been cut. So it's not looking as green as what it used to be, but we are going through the cutting season right now. But I just love the way it's commercial farming and moo barns. Moo barn there, moo barn there, moo barn there. They've got a few little industrial sites, but it's just so random. The randomness is beautiful. Just so random. This is something you just don't see in anywhere else. You might see it in places I've been to. Well, randomness, I suppose. Houston, Renfrewshire was a little bit random, but the thing is, they are in the rural zone. But
what I don't like, even though it makes traffic better, is I hate grid cities.
Oh yeah.
They're just boring. Like, it's hard to navigate by what does this street look like when you're in a grid city, because everything starts feeling samey.
Yeah. Stop streaming that. Yeah, so I just love the randomness, the greenness. I would like to see a little bit more I'd like to see a little bit more commercial gardening in little spots, a bit more green in the city. But I just don't think it's commercially viable, and it's all to do with the money. I think as soon as you get about maybe sort of 10 kilometres close to the city, it's no longer a viable solution to have a spot with with rice.
something my condo does, and I'm pretty sure it's my condo, because right next to it, when I was, there's one way that I go that I always go to the main road. Then I decided to go kind of down the dead end soy, and there's actually a lot next to the condo that's some sort of communal garden for the condo or something like that. So maybe they are doing it here.
Well, there's two spots along Petkasim Road where we used to live, where they got a bit of commercial gardening going. But I think when you look at the actual area, and the MRT will go past there, I think these people are holding out for the what they call the big payday when that land is bought for commercial reasons, because it's a big MRT station within 50 metres of that land. Some Thais are quite smart when it comes to that, so they're leaving it basically as commercial gardening now for that time when they get the big payday, because the government will buy the land. Robert's just asked a question, off subject again. When am I going to clean his room? Well, when we can get back and start, when I can continue with our renovations, because basically the renovations have stopped right now, so we can't really do what we want to do. I've got to get back to Home Pro there with basically a plan of what I want to get done, so they can run it up in their computer system, find out what goes there. We're going to get those kitchen cupboards in. Then we're going to do the dining room, and now I'm talking about putting a little cut-through window between the dining room and the second kitchen, or the first kitchen. So it's got a little sort of what they call window, so it opens the space up a bit more, rather than have two small spaces. When you do that, it'll look bigger. So that's something I want to do, but I can only really sort of perceive that once I model it, and I may have enough to model it in Second Life, just so I can sort of do it properly, because it's very quicker for me to model it in Second Life than it is to actually model it in 3D. I actually got this thing called on my Steam program, which was Home Design. Was it called? Sweet Home 3D. I paid for that, was 250 baht, but it seems to be quite limited for what I can do for design work. So I think I'll probably do it in Second Life.
I actually have a program that I've got Chief Architect software. It's an older version, it's 2017, but I think I still have the download for it if you want to use that.
Oh, I'll talk about that later. It just depends on how much you got to learn for a new product. That one is very much Snap generic, but they got the assets in the Snap generic thing don't match up what's available here. So I can probably whip that stuff up in Second Life to scale quicker. Then I can whack it up in 3D, in 3D, not 3D Max, in Blender. I've got something to do with. Anyway, I've got to do that. I've got to do the dining room. What else have I got to do? I got to do under the stairs. I got to get some cupboards under the stairs. I need places to put things first. My problem right now is I have no place to put things. All that stuff you collected. I might have got my life down to 2 suitcases, and quite frankly, apart from the bike gear and the computer, well, I'm probably living a life of 3 suitcases of stuff that is mine and mine exclusively. But the rest of it is household, and that's the thing. Chanya's she's a homebody, and she wants this, she wants that, she wants to have her little castle, and that's what girls like. They just like that shit, They like to feel like they're nesting. I think is the word, isn't it? Nesting. They collect everything, and so I just need some space to put some of the bits and pieces, which is basically putting cupboards together and properly organising space. You know, I'm sorry if Stephen Monash is watching. I know he can't chat on the thing because he's got something wrong with his YouTube account, but he probably is watching. He's always come on and chat on our Discord, of course. But that aside, you know, Stephen's little under the stairwell, you know, Harry Potter room. Well, that needs to become cupboards, you know, where we can put stuff away. That whole area will be storage. The kitchen will be storage. I need to obviously need my credenza. I'm not even using my credenza yet. You know, I got storage in my credenza, but I think my credenza is really only there for show at the moment. And what I want to do there, I need to make another one because it's actually it goes the wrong way. You know, the credenza. If I take my, I'm probably going to screw things up here. It's probably not long enough cable. Yeah, and I need to. Oh God, what am I doing? Turn the original off. Yeah. So if we go down, can we see it down there? So yeah. So the drawers are on the wrong side. I can't really get to the drawers, and the cupboard sort of condensed. So it needs to. The whole thing needs to be reversed to become functional. But as I said, it's just a credenza. I just need to do some work with that. Either get one that's ideally suited, get rid of that off screen. Get one that's ideally suited for the purpose, with drawers on that side and the sliding drawer on the other side. Then that becomes a useful thing, because right now I can't put anything in the drawers, which is where the stuff came from. The stuff came out of those drawers and needs to go back in the drawers. Which is the stuff that's in the room on the floor, and there's a few bits of wood and things like that which are still there. And you know, when I took the tabletop off the old desk, that's in the spare room. That just needs to be thrown out. I got no use for it. We can't do anything with it. You know, it's not like can't be recycled or reused for any other purpose. So you know, just got to get thrown out. But yeah, so the room will get done when we have all the space organised, which is, you know, probably another 50,000 baht to be spent, you know, on remodelling. There's probably 30,000 in the kitchen area, probably 20,000 underneath the stairs to make all the cupboard space in there, and then we're good to start to do the spare room. And then I know she's on my case about the bed. She keeps on looking at these, you know, lovely grandiose beds, and I don't think I've actually sort of gone onto how. Do I have to show you the beds again? I did that a few weeks ago. What's on my photo album? I haven't even checked my photos for today. She was saving them, but no. Oh, there was one in her. Yeah, I don't know whether do I want to show that? Yeah, so this is the sort of thing she wants as her bed, you know, this grandiose, you know, oh my God. We can't use the side tables because there's no space against the wall for the side tables, but she may decide that, you know, a vanity unit in the bedroom would suffice. I don't know what she wants to do there. She just lacks visual space, seeing how the whole thing will fit in. But God, you know, that thing would give me nightmares, honestly. I'm glad I'm going to sleep and not looking at it. But this is what she wants in the bedroom, you know, king size bed. Why? Because the cat decides to sleep on our bed. She says the cat keeps on waking me up because it moves. Oh, well, God almighty, you know how it is. Such is life. Yes. We're still going to work on that one, if you know what I mean. So that's where we are. But basically, everything's on lockdown, so everything's on hold, because I said I would like to go and see the bed, you know, in person. I'd like to physically measure it with my own tape measure, because I don't trust anybody's tape measurements apart from my own. You know, I'm very untrusting when that comes to that, because, hey, been burnt so many times. You know, once bitten, twice bitten, yeah, three. I'll get the idea. You know. How many times it's happened, I don't know. I will take my tape measure and I'll measure it. Yeah, Victorian. Is that what you call them, travelling man? Victorian style? Yeah, okay. That's what she wants. You know, that's her dream bed, you know, to go in our love shack. Well, there you go. That looks very unpretentious. Go for something a bit more bold. Yeah. What do I need more colour on it? Some of the ones she's come through have been pink. At least that colour didn't really worry me. It's got gold, stuff on it. But oh god, some of them have been pink, and some of them have been like seriously pink. I said, I'm going to sleep in this bed, darling. That's going to give me nightmares. Yes, bossing over. Yes, nightmare dreams. Yeah, so that's what I got to do. Anyway, so we need to do the kitchen, we need to do the dining room, we need to do the understairs. Once we got those three things done, then we can look at our bed, and then our current bed moves into the spare room because the space will be there, and get the idea. And then of course we're all good. Then Robert can come and stay for a day. And I'm sure we'd love to have you up here, Robert. So we're looking at like November, probably the way things are going. Right now I think we're in lockdown here, or we're in lockdown until the end of the month, and they're going to reassess the whole situation by the end of the month, on the 30th. And I'm expecting to see a relaxing of the rules. We might just see parks opened up, maybe. I don't know if the parks are closed now. We might just see some things like salons are allowed to get back to hair cutting again. It's hard to even guess what's going to go on, but I don't sort of see any real, free to roam around and everything. Malls being opened up until at least probably November. The way things are going, I think we've seen a flat lining of the curve right now. Over the last couple of weeks, the numbers aren't, they were steadily rising, but now we're starting to see a bit of a drop down now. So I think we went sub to 20,000 cases 2 days ago. I think it was just over 20,000 this morning, but we seem to have peaked or plateaued now, which is good. So we could start to see, as they get more vaccinations done, we could start to see things getting sub 20,000, and I think once we get down to probably sub 10,000, we'll start to see some relaxation of the rules. I don't sort of see them opening bars and pubs until probably maybe sort of January, February, the way things are going, because they're going to have to get numbers are going to be less than 500 before they'll even entertain that sort of stuff. Anyway, we need to open. Look. Right on Thailand. Yeah, we need to open everything. It's now numbers now coming through from England and a couple other places where they got that magical 70% vaccination figures done, and they're starting to see the numbers. We're still seeing cases, and the cases are dropping, but the numbers are dropping down. The deaths. There was a couple of articles come out this morning. They're sort of comparing the death rate from the first wave to the death rate from the Delta wave. There's no, cases are there, but the death is not there. I think people are waking up to the fact that we're going to have to live with this thing here.
Yeah, in the U.S., it's a bunch of people that are dying and unvaccinated. Yeah.
It's the vaccine versus unvaccinated, and that's the numbers are coming through. All the anti-vaxxers. Like I appreciate that you're entitled to your opinion. I think it's just not valid, but that's my opinion about your opinion. Vaccinations work. I just think we're over-vaccinated as a population. Sometimes you need to catch diseases. Sometimes you just need to get out in the street and eat mud as a child to build up an immunity to life. That's the only advice I can get. Let your kids go and eat mud, guys. That's how we build strong kids. Eat the mud. Because I think that's what we're seeing now. The 20 to 30 age group, the ones that have been kept in cotton wool for most of their life, they're the ones that are suffering the most now because they didn't eat mud. Don't eat mud. It's not good for you. Dalo had my second jab on Thursday. Good on you. So you ready to get back here, are you, Dalo? You're dying to get back here? Probably not dying to get back here. You're anxious to get back here. Let's not use dying to get back here. we are vaccinated and feel safe. Although I've had one shot and Chanya's had one shot, so has mother. So we have already sort of some sort of level of immunity. I think for one shot they say it's half as good as two shots, but it's still one shot is still better than no shots. So, and I don't get my second shot until the 16th of October because it's the AstraZeneca. And it's the 21st of August today. I've got 30 days to organise my visa renewal. So I'll be off to the immigration department on Monday to get a list of my requirements to know exactly what they want me to bring, and then I'll get that sorted out. My insurance has already come through and just said pay this money and we'll send you another renewal certificate. So that's all up and ready to do. We just still don't hear anything about. I've just heard nothing about the what they call COVID-19 insurance. Nobody's mentioning anything about that. I know OA visa holders are supposed to have the insurance, but I haven't seen whether that's before they come here or whether they are here, because you go to the Thailand immigration, the official Thailand immigration site, still has nothing listed there about your health insurance, still has nothing listed about COVID-19 insurance. So you'd think that they'd keep their website up to date, wouldn't you? It's not like it's just happened, it's been around for 18 months. But this is the way you've got to deal with it. So the only way really to know what we need to do is I just go and talk to them and say, what do you want me to bring? Okay, here's the checklist. I'll get that sorted out. I'll be back in a week or something, and then just way it goes. I don't see any issues. The only thing is the COVID-19 insurance is the one that's most likely to be the thing I'm going to have to sort out. My current insurer used to do it. It was listed as one who supplied it, but she's come back to me and said, no, we no longer do that. You'll have to see one of the other insurers. I just need to know what other insurers are doing it, who are Thailand companies. So I really flatly refuse to get a COVID-19 insurance from a country that doesn't have anything to do with Thailand. Doesn't make sense whatsoever, does it? I've already got COVID-19 insurance anyway. It's not the 3 million baht, or the $100,000 US. And exactly why it needs to be that sort of level of insurance, I have no idea. What I will do is I will take my COVID-19 insurance when I go and see them on Monday, and I said, is this policy acceptable? And if it is, I'll just get them to adjust the policy to make it the annual thing. But if they don't want that annualised for the 13th of 30 for the 21st of September, going for 12 months, then what can you do? I'll have to go and find other insurance. But that's the only one that seems to be a little bit of a holdout. I think everything else is under control. Anyway, moving right along. Anything else to talk about? Well, I'm getting up to the 2 hour mark. Look at that, 1 hour and 53 minutes. Okay, in the last 7 minutes, we want to talk about anything? Because I'm going to go and play some more Witcher 3.
Yeah, I don't
good. I'm
have
still
any.
counting down the days.
Hey?
Yeah, he's still waiting to get here.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm waiting for restaurants to open again. That's my big thing, and yeah,
Mhm.
I'm still happy that the beach is open here in Hua Hin, so I can go walk on the beach in the mornings. Feel it's just awesome feeling.
Mhm.
Going to walk into water that doesn't kill you, and feel that flow over your feet in the morning or in the afternoon, like that. That's happiness.
It is, yeah. I don't have it here, but I suppose I don't know how much beach you had in America when you were over there for most of your life.
There's plenty of beach where I used to live, in Kenai. But, go put your feet in the water there, and it's like you do that for more than about 10 seconds, and they're going to start to get numb.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, see, living in Sydney, in my adolescent and up to the age of 30 sort of years, it was only a 30-minute drive to the beach. You know, I wasn't a beach kid, but you know, like we used to go to the beach probably every second week, every second weekend. I did actually work in the beach area, so you know, when I was in the 80s to mid 90s, I was working down in Brookvale, so we were fairly close to the beach, and you know, Friday afternoons sometimes, and involved going to the club, and then sort of, you know, going and hanging out the beach later on before you went home and things like that. So beaches, you know, the want for a beach was never really, you know, a specialty. So I'm sort of now grown. Like, I don't mind the beach when I go there. It's like a little bit of a treat. But you know, I had all my beach days in my younger years, so I don't have to go, you know, looking for it. I don't have to be near the beach, you know.
It's like the equivalent of me, you know, trying to go to Snow World here or something. Go like, you know, make a snowman. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm okay with not having that right now. Like, I will say, like, every once in a while when I'm walking, like, there's a certain amount of money that I would give for just a negative 20-degree, like, 10-second breeze.
Right.
I would love that, but for only 10 seconds.
That's what we're missing out on. This is what we're missing out on right now, is, you know, somebody else to pay for the air conditioning. So going to the mall was a treat because somebody else is paying for air conditioning, you know.
Oh yeah, I miss the food court at Market Village. Like that's one thing I definitely miss. I mean, of course I go there and then I'm stuck by too much indecision on what I want to eat. And it's like, oh, what color of milk or what color of drink do I want today? Do I want blueberry? Do I want strawberry? Do I want bubbles? What kind of bubbles do I want? And then I like sit there like a stupid idiot, like staring at like different menus of different colors of stuff, and like, wait, which food place do I want today? So in some ways it's actually better, but I still miss it.
Hmm. Yeah, so I think once the malls are open, things will lighten up, because I said I want to go. There was a barbecue in at the Mall Bunquet that I had my eye on, which, you know, as I said, I'm getting out to Barbecues Galore to look at what they got on file over there. I haven't found any alternatives to Barbecues Galore or what I saw in the mall. But as Barbecues Galore, the one I saw in Barbecues Galore was 55,000 baht for a barbecue, and that's in my book, you know, that's a bit expensive. Whereas the thing I saw in the mall at 25,000 baht, well, that's more acceptable. You know, it's a decent size for what we would normally be doing for barbecue. Nothing like the thing at Mayor Groves' house, you know, like the bloody 6-burner, you know, massive, you know, you could cook a side of cow in there. But, you know, for our yard, for our typical barbecue, you know, barbecue once a week with some pork, or whatever you're doing, you know, it's probably, you know, what I would call a useful size. You know, at least it beats, you know, what they call the charcoal pots. You know, they're about this round, and you get a bit of grill at the top, and like you can get half a dozen, you know, shrimp on there at any one time, and you're basically cycling through half a dozen shrimp. And at least this one here, you could put a whole, you know, 2 kilo of shrimp on the barbie, right, and cook them all at once, you know, and then throw something else on top. You know, I don't know how Thais really those things. They just drive me nuts. You know, it's so easy for the things to fall off, but Thais love those little crock pot charcoal barbecues. It's you know, that's another thing we'll have to talk about at some stage. You know, the Thai idea of barbecue.
I think it's a spatial, like,
yeah, it's a spatial thing.
With small amounts of space. Like,
yeah.
You know, we don't have to do that. At least in the U.S., you don't have to do that. You've got as much or more space than you ever need. I guess, unless maybe you live in New York or something.
Yeah, but if
Gotta have a barbecue.
But if anybody else knows of where you can buy decent barbecues here in Thailand, hit me up on my Facebook or Discord channel or whatever, and just give me a link to the place so we can look at it. You know, I've got to solve this. This is one of the major non-essentials that has to be solved in our house, apart from the storage issue. Got to get the barbecue ready before we can have the house out. You know, and again, I still don't know where we're going to put our little, the spirit house. But you know, so there's two things we need to do: spirit house and barbecue. That's what we got to do outside. their little, what we do there, I don't know, but they're both going to be solved before we can do our house blessing. But as I said, we've got till November to work that out, because I'm pretty sure we won't be able to do anything until November anyway. Watching the workers on the CTV works. Anyway, nobody's really talking to us. They're all talking amongst themselves. I'm pretty sure they just come here to talk amongst themselves. This is it's
Well,
a chat.
about beer
That's
and
okay.
MVD mowing someone's lawn and yeah.
And as I said before, like again, plug in the Discord. This is the sort of thing that we've got our Discord for. You can come onto the Discord. You can chat amongst yourselves. In a chat forum group sort of thing. And
Yeah, you don't have to wait for the next live stream. You can
yeah,
chat anytime. on
chat
Discord.
anytime. With a few people chat there. I'm always
Mayor Groves, yeah. Mayor Groves saying, sorry, we didn't notice Warren was here. Yeah, thanks, Robert.
So yeah, you can always come on and sort of chat to your heart's content. Like some of these Discord channels, that they are just constantly sort of chatting at this speed or faster. That's what Discord's about. You don't have to be on video, but it's just once you can talk on the voice channels, then you pretty much don't really bother about anything else really when you start to think about it. Why write something when we can talk? But yeah, so if you want to chat amongst yourselves, come to the Discord. So get off. Don't forget YouTube. They're picking up every word that is said here, which is great for YouTube. But then of course, if you're going to talk about Hitler and things like that, then you probably find yourself all the Nazi advertising will come through on your Facebook next 24 to 48 hours because you've mentioned the word or something. That's the way it really works that way. So it's bizarre. Anyway, I'm going to find my closing screen. We'll hang out here a bit longer. Get my closing screen ready to go, and we will catch up with you guys next time. So peace out. Great having you along, and wait till next Saturday. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
I want you to lift me up so